Oh no, you have resubbed while I was fixing the mic. Thank you for the resub. I appreciate it. You know what it must be? You know what it must be? It must be that I'm... This used to happen, and then it didn't happen for, like, more than a year. Like, I feel like it didn't happen last winter that much, but... Because, for some reason... I guess it's related to humidity or something. Like, if it's really cold out, sometimes I generate static electricity and shock myself on things, and sometimes I don't. And it seems like it hasn't happened at all this year, maybe because it hasn't been cold enough, or hasn't been too humid, or it has been too humid, whatever the deal is. I think I've been shocking myself on the mic stand, and that is unhooking the mic or whatever. That it goes like, oh, my USB has too many inference loops and not enough bismuth. I'm gonna unhook myself until you redo me. So we are back to Great Ace Attorney. Everybody hates us for being Japanese. No, we had just had a small break in the trial, I think. Or no, maybe not a break, but we are here, and they are going to bring in new witnesses. Yes, that's right. We caught a glimpse of them. What I should do is dispose of this mic stand. This is... Like, I wish I could point the camera at it, maybe. This is not a real... Like, it was a real mic stand when I bought it, but I didn't know how to set it up, so it is not correctly set up, and it has deteriorated over the years. I could also probably use a new mic. This... When did I get this? Like 5 or 6 years ago. I could also use a new cam, because this is the same cam that I started streaming with, like, 8 years ago. This is a very old cam, and probably sucks. Oh, they know each other. Or, she has no concept of personal space. Constable Rolly Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. Rolly Beat? I don't get it. And I'm Mrs. Beat. Patricia's my name. I'm proud to say this. I'm this Youngtown hero's wife. Like, it's arguably, when I go, oh, I don't want the mic here because I'm done streaming, so I push it over there. That should be something that the stand allows me to do, and instead it's... Like... I also need a new desk, as long as we're putting dates to things. This is a desk that I did not buy. This came with the apartment that I moved into in 2005. Whoever moved out had left it there, and I have had it since then, and it is a wreck. It's doing a great job for 17 years old. Older than that, since I'm sure it wasn't brand new when they got it. Of course he measured it. Maybe. What's the story here? Well, in truth, we've not been married long. In fact, we celebrated our first anniversary only the other day. No, it was your husband I was talking about. He seems tired. Hardly surprising. Whilst being an honorable occupation, patrolling the beat is the most demanding work in the world. Oh, really? Sure, I've heard that before, actually. Indeed. Apart from rare days off, our gallant officers trudge some 20 miles a day, you know. Oops. They patrol boarding houses, pubs, collect taxes, survey the streets, check that meters are ringing true, count windows, assess taxes based on number of windows. And they're responsible for keeping the streets clean and lighting and extinguishing our streetlights. There are a number of items on that list that don't sound much like policing duties at all. Actually, I could have told you how wide it is. It should be like 405 wide, I think, because that's how wide no, not 405. 30. How large? How large are the dang things? Wait, it should be, right? My little side panels. Aren't they 405 by 1076? For no reason? Just that was the first one that I made, and I made all of them the same size. 405 by 1076 precisely. However, I'm also, the canvas that I'm using is sized, it's probably not, I don't know why I'm interrupting the stream to look this up, but I want to. Yeah, the base canvas resolution is 2K, 2560 by 1440, and then it's downscaled to 1080p. So, nothing is real. Everything is made up. Points don't matter. There are a number of items. Oh, I already read that. I wouldn't just be falling asleep on my feet. I'd have collapsed long ago. Right, yes. Exactly what you said. It's downscaled to 1080p, so, yes. But it goes without saying that a policeman's primary duty is the apprehension of criminals. Even when he's off duty, a constable is expected to investigate and resolve any crimes on his beat. For the London Bobby is a man of honor with a U. That's the good old London Bobby. Oh, he's got duct tape on his helmet. That wasn't invented yet. This is an wait a minute. If anachronism means accurate, how do you say not inaccurate? A anachronism? An anachronism? Anti-anachronism? And a man of slumber. On the day in question, this man and his wife were walking down Briar Road in the opposite direction. Nope, that's not why at all. It's because some games that I play, no. Is that true? Is there a game that I've played? Because, I mean, my screen is 2K resolution, and some things I play full screen. That's what it is, yeah. Like, if I switch it to Final Fantasy XIV, when I was playing that, I'm playing it in 2K, and I play it full screen instead of shrunk down. Wait, anachronism is an error? It's not the correct version? What does SCA stand for? The Society of Creative... Anachronism, right? Is it called creative anachronism because they do it wrong on purpose? Man, we're growing up a lot today. Totally true. Yes. Yeah, I guess the canvas size doesn't really matter, and I also don't capture it locally. Yeah, I suppose there's no reason for this. Don't follow in my footsteps. I have no reason for what I'm doing. They witnessed the incident as it occurred. Is that not correct, Mr. and Mrs. Beat? That's right, sir. Isn't it, Rowley? Constable Rowley Beat, sir. Nothing to report on the street, sir. What a great witness he's going to be. Almost as good as a parrot. Very good. I'd like to hear your formal testimonies now, if you please. You will tell the court exactly what you saw on the afternoon of the incident. Yes, sir. It was our wedding anniversary, and Rowley was taking me out for a meal. There was no time to change after work. Anyway, two silhouettes appeared out of the fog on the pavement in front of us. All of a sudden, one of them just collapsed on the floor, and the others scattered something before running off. We ran straight over, of course, and then went for help at the nearby police box. It was definitely that Japanese man in the dock. Rolly and I both saw him clear as day. Clear as a London day, which are known for clarity. It's one of those, I set it up this way once, and it's harder to change it. I guess I would put effort into changing it if it turned out that it was, like, if that could impact, you know, processing. Which I suppose it does. Yeah, there's no reason for me to have the canvas be one, right? Realistically, the canvas size in OBS should be the same as the output, unless I have a compelling reason for it not to be. I probably should change that. Well, this is extremely compelling testimony, I must say. Oh dear, this policeman and his wife are claiming to have positively identified Mr. Natsume at the scene. If their testimony is true, the alternative course of events that you established in the summation examination will be quashed. It's death knell, in fact, because that alternative was never viable in the first place. What an unfortunate bechancing. He's been waiting years to use that word. And on your wedding anniversary, too. Oh, I know, but I still managed to go out for the evening with my man. I thank the Lord for that. Gosh, the life of a London bobby sounds very hard indeed. Indeed. However, this cross-examination will be over in minutes. Help me count them. You may well have time to rest this afternoon. What do you mean by that? My learned friend, the witnesses saw the face of the man fleeing the scene. They didn't say that. Did they? They are testifying under oath that it was without doubt the accused, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Bang, bang, bang. Learned it from a crossword puzzle a month ago. And one of these witnesses is a policeman, no less, so you appreciate the gravity of the situation, I'm sure. Except that the man's so tired, his wife has to do all the talking. Enough preamble. Counsel for the defense, commence the cross-examination, please. Is it about 6 seconds? Maybe we can push it. I have no idea if, like, if OBS processing something has something to do with the amount of latency you wind up with on the stream. It could. Yes, my lord. Honestly, I'm just grateful that everything works. That we don't have any computer problems. Remember when I had computer problems? Remember when everything was awful? Hold it! No time to change after work, you say. Are you also a member of the police, Mrs. Beat? Oh no, sadly not. It's a job for strapping young men only. Women, children, the elderly, people of other races can't even apply. Well, I think you can probably see why children and the elderly can't do the job. Some ageism in there, too. For good measure. I think Rolly looks ever so handsome in his uniform. It suits you down to the ground, doesn't it, darling? What? I just finished my beat. Pat and I were heading back to the station. I was actually planning on getting changed there. Is he talking in his sleep? This is creepy. Oh no, Rolly, I much prefer you in uniform. Sometimes I don't recognize you when I see you in plain... Your Honor, objection. The witness has prosopagnosia. Oh dear, that doesn't seem healthy. Kindly adhere to the point. You were going for a meal after you had finished your beat for the day, correct? That's right, sir. Yes. Although I was fit to drop, to be honest, after spending the whole day on my feet. But policing is my life, sir. As long as I'm the proud owner of this, I'll serve my queen, my city and my queen to the end. What's that now? A warrant card, sir. Proof I'm a London copper. It has the noble founding principles of the force written on it as a reminder to all us policemen of our sworn duty. Patrol the streets of London town and uphold the peace of the common man. Sir, and for such a noble cause I cover 20 miles every single day without fail and without a grumble. Because I know that the prodding of my boots is all Londoners need to hear to feel safe and secure. So, fighting crime doesn't appear to come into it then. Just walk. But, sir, just on that particular day, I was looking forward to celebrating my wedding anniversary. Mrs. B puts up with her lot, being married to a bobby like me. I wanted to show my dear wife how much I care. Oh, the low latency I think it does. It does. Oh no, wait, is it I'm supposed to turn it on and then everybody gets to pick whether they have it on or off? I've never thought of most of these as being things that are like, if I say something you can't respond in 3 seconds, then the stream is ruined. I think it's fine. I usually don't turn it on streams that I watch, although there aren't many of those. But part of that is because for some reason the only things that I watch on Twitch at all are people playing Final Fantasy XIV. And maybe it's just that it's most noticeable there, but low latency mode sometimes messes up the music. Like, it sounds distorted because it's not... It does something else to it. I don't know how to explain it. Oh, Pat. Oh, no. The other way around. Oh, what a charming couple. Their young love is such a joy to behold. No, it must be also something that you can turn, if the streamer has it turned on, you can turn it off. I'm pretty sure. Although it has been a while since I looked into it. Yes, what Oddgar said, I think. If a little over the top, perhaps. And then, kindly describe what happened next. Like, it was only within the last month or two that I decided to, like, go ahead and stream in 1080. Because I had been streaming in 720, like, oh, who cares about video quality? I'm just playing, you know, freaking text-based games and puzzle games and stuff. But it's like, things look terrible in 720. Don't make it that awful. Anyway, 2 silhouettes appeared out of the fog and painted in front of us. You liar. No, you're telling the truth. 2 silhouettes? That's right, they were coming towards us. Walking up Briar Road in the opposite direction. There was a rather plump figure, followed by a scrawny, thin-looking man. That does sound exactly like the victim is pictured in this print, and like Mr. Natsume. Yes, unfortunately it does. And you're certain that at that time there was nobody else nearby? Oh yes, quite certain. It was dark. But there are street lights on Briar Road, you see. There was nobody else around at all. Isn't that right, my darling? Yes, that's right. Of course, there was a light fog on the ground. But Briar Road is dead straight, and you can see a fairly long way down the pavement. And then there's the street lighting as well. I didn't see any other pedestrians. Before the sleep takes a firm hold, your answer, please, Mr. Beat. Are you quite sure of what you've just said? Yes, sir. As a couple who spends all day, every day, keeping watch on the streets, I swear to it, sir. I'll be sure as my love for Patricia is true. Oh, Pat.
Oh, Rolly.
They're still maintaining there was no one else around other than the victim and the attacker. It's starting to seem like that must be how it really happened. It's beginning to seem like there's nowhere to run. Well, that didn't stop Mr. Natsume, did it? He fled the scene all too convincingly. Did somebody drug his helmet strap?
Thank you. I believe we have a reasonably clear idea of the situation just before the incident now. What happened in the crucial moments that followed?
Did I get his little London police pamphlet as a thing that I can look at? No. I did not.
Hold it!
Scattered something. What do you mean by that? Oh, well, I couldn't quite make out what it was at the time. But when we got closer, we realized what it was. Didn't we, darling?
What? Oh, yeah, that's right. Some old books. I see. Old books. Yes, sir. Culprit had dropped a number of them all around where the victim lay on the pavement. Indeed, as clearly pictured in this photographic print.
That rotten Japanese man did that when he did the deed. Have we established if they're wearing one long scarf? We have not. But let's not forget that it remains to be established that the defendant was indeed the attacker. They are matching scarves. Could they be linked at the bottom? They could.
But we saw him. It was the man in the dock without question, sir. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the top mouth, snub nose, everything.
Any more insults you want to throw in? That's right, he looked down at that poor defenseless woman with those terrifying, intense eyes, and then suddenly threw his books onto the pavement and ran away. As you do. As you do when you've just committed a murder. I see. This is tough. They seem as though they're telling the truth here.
May I remind the court that this unambiguous testimony comes from a policeman and his wife. Now, please, continue. Yes, sir.
Hold it! Was it your husband who went to fetch help? No, I went. I may not be a police officer myself, but I'm the proud wife of one after all. Isn't that right, my darling? It looks like it might be. It might all be the same scarf.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I asked Mrs. Beat to go. I was off duty by that point, but Bobby's never truly off duty, so of course, so I felt obliged to stay and guard the scene. Very laudable, Mr. Beat. Preserving the scene of a crime is a task of considerable importance. It's what I sent Patricia, you see. I told her where to find the right police. Wait, is there more than one? Forgive my ignorance, but what exactly do you mean by the right police box? Depends on the crime's location, you see, as to who deals with it. Where the woman was stabbed wasn't actually on my beat. So I told Patricia to wait to the police box for the beat the incident fell under so she could go and report it.
I ran there as quickly as I could and asked for help from the Bobby on duty. There's nothing more potent than a young couple in love working together, you know.
And thanks to your swift response, the case was quickly resolved. The actions of 2 model citizens.
Oh, please, you're making us blush, isn't he, darling?
But yes, sir, what Patricia says, sir.
Let's move on, shall we? Alright, so this is the last one. But surely you wouldn't have been able to see his face by the light of the gas street lamps, would you? We absolutely could. Us Londoners have exceptional eyesight, I'll have you know. Not like those Japanese. Right. The light from the street lamps was more than enough, and my husband already told you that the fog was only light, didn't he? Yes. And what of the fog?
We're famous for it across the globe, I believe. But it's an absolute menace to those of us who have to live with it, of course.
Oh, it is. It is. When it's thick, you can't even see the hand at the end of your own arm. Yes, all right, I take your point. Now, could you stop shaking your husband about? The constant fog makes our eyes very sharp, you see. Objection. That's not how that works. You have to eat carrots. That's why we can tell you for sure and certain that it was the little Japanese man we saw. Can't we, darling?
Well, yes, it was the accused, no mistake. The mustache, the hunchback, the cat-like eyes, the top mouth, the snub nose was unmistakable. So,
as far as this couple's testimony is concerned, there can't be any question. It was Soseki-san they saw running away from the scene of the crime. Do we really think so? No, we're pretty sure that he was actually on the other street. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, I hate to admit it, but on hearing the testimony, it really does seem as though Mr. and Mrs. Beat saw what they really saw. Mr. Natsume running away from the scene on Briar Road that day. Yeah, we need to pull a Joe Pesci. You tell me how many fingers I'm holding up? Yes, I feel the same. So if that's true, where does it leave us? The members of the jury are sure to call for a guilty verdict after this testimony. Oh no! No, don't! Then what do we do? If Kazuma-sama were here... What are you trying to say? I think he would try to find a contradiction somewhere else within their testimony. What do you mean, somewhere else? Their statement about seeing Mr. Natsume is unequivocal. Calling that into question won't help. But if you can identify some other part of their testimony which appears to contradict the facts, you might be able to discredit them to make the jury doubt if the pair's memory of that day is accurate. Oh, right. Put simply, we must focus on finding a discrepancy in those statements somewhere. If we don't, I'm afraid the trial may reach an early and unfavorable conclusion. Ugh. Why do I always seem to be so up against it? Bent over a barrel. Mr. Lawyer, sir, can I ask you something? No, I'm not on trial, you are. Well, you keep asking us all these questions about everything we've told you, so... It seems like you don't believe our testimony. Is that right? Is it? Well, out with it. This frickin' noob comes to court without any weapons and has to punch? Man. What? No. Oh no, it's really not that at all. My husband's a policeman, remember? And I know what I saw. I remember every last detail, everything. Like... Oh, I know. What about the books the man dropped? I could tell you the names of every single one, I could. Every single one. And you dare to question how reliable my testimony is? Alright, so this is a freebie. No, it won't do it all. That Japanese lawyer has no idea what I'm capable of. Even if I decide to forgive him for insulting us, don't think for a minute that Rowley will. Really didn't mean to cause offense. Please, put your husband's fists down.
perhaps you would like the opportunity to supplement your testimony, Mrs. Beat. Might that appease you?
Didn't even bring a gun with a smoke gas grenade gun. Didn't bring a drone with a Gatling gun on it. Freaking noobs. Thank you, my lord. That would settle things nicely. Wouldn't it, darling? The 4 books... Yes, we know that there were books dropped at the scene of the crime, as you say. Those purchased by the accused at a nearby second-hand bookshop on the day in question. After I'd been to the police box for help, I decided to have a good look over the area for good measure. 4 books. They were 1 pence a piece, for a total of 4 pence. I am a proud policeman's wife, after all. I did it for Rolly. And what was your husband doing at the time? Oh, he was lying face down in the snow, getting some well-deserved rest. He works ever so hard, you know. Ever so hard. Don't you, my darling? Interesting way of guarding the scene of the crime.
Well, Mrs. Beat, seeing as you've regaled the court with tales of your powers of recollection, would you be so kind as to recount the titles of the books you observed at the scene?
I'd be happy to. Now, are you all listening? There was The Picture of Monsieur Somebody or Other, and What's It Yearnings, and then there was A Meal for Someone, and the last one was definitely The Thingamy Something. You see?
Yes!
I see there are 1 or 2 holes in your memory. Oh, well, they were along those lines, I'm quite sure.
There were indeed books that they found at the scene with titles along those lines, as you put it.
1 for each of her forefathers. Well, what did I tell you? So I think it's very mean the way you've been implying that my testimony can't be trusted. Don't you agree, darling?
Oh! Anyone who upsets my petition will have me to answer to.
This guy's not as much of a noob as I thought. He knows how to court. He knows how to be a witness in a trial. Although, wait a second. Don't English Bobbies not carry guns?
Terrifying.
Yes, she really is. So that's it, is it? That's their entire testimony? We already seen this? Yeah, we already seen this. Choom, 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 choom. Alright, get wrecked, idiot.
Objection!
So, you're saying there were 4 books. That's right, I remember all of them. The Picture of Monsieur Somebody, What's It Yearnings, A Meal for Someone, and The Thingy Something. I'm sorry, Mrs. Beat. But there is a fundamental flaw in that statement of yours that I'm surprised the Count has not pointed out. Oh no, what flaw? Simply that at the scene of the crime, there were only 3 books, not 4. That was a very dramatic point for a simple mathematical error. What? This is the receipt from the bookshop where the defendant bought his books. Your books? Yes, and it details Mr. Natsume's purchases that day. He couldn't have been carrying a 4th book by any means that he owned already, or that he bought somewhere else, or that he found on the ground. But as you can see, only 3 books are listed. Only 3? But no, that can't be. I remember seeing them. There were 4 books, I tell you. 4 dirty old books. Oh, really? Have a good look at this photographic print of the scene of the crime. Is the 4th book going to be under her or something? As you can clearly see from this evidence as well, there are only 3 books from this angle. But I just don't believe it. I saw them there, I swear it, I saw them. He just bought them, but he bought them from a second-hand bookstore. I'm pretty sure. Yes, it was a second-hand bookshop, so of course they were old. Is there a book under her coat? Was she stabbed in the book? Was she stabbed in the book? No. No, madame. I'm afraid your powers of observation cannot be relied upon. Grrr! So it cannot be denied. that though you say it was the defendant you saw, you could very well be mistaken. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. No!
Objection!
It is plainly evident that it is your powers of deduction that cannot be relied upon, my learned Nipponese friend. What? What cannot be denied is that these two witnesses saw the accused running from the scene, a fact that you know very well you have no hope of disproving. Hey, hello again, Shub. The fourth book was inside her coat all along. So you've striven to avert attention from that by dint of some inconsequential discrepancies. Hey, this guy's played Phoenix Wright before! He knows the game plan. Would that be fair? Ugh, he sees right through me and all of the games in my series. But your plan has somewhat recoiled against you. What are you talking about, Willis? Your name is Willis, right? It's quite simple. Let me explain with a toast. To the policeman's wife and her entirely accurate testimony in every respect. Oh! You see, the matter is not up for debate. At the scene on Briar Road, a total of 4 books were most definitely found.
Objection!
But what about the photographic print? The photographic. It only shows 3 books. Quite right. Only 3 can be seen in that print. That print? You mean to say other angles exist? Allow me to present another, one that shows the victim's hand. Why would she have picked up the book? This is her freaking book. Ah, look, it's been burnt. It belonged to, T-Lap. I don't believe it. It's the 4th book. As you will observe, the 4th book was hidden from view in the original print by the victim's torso. No. No! My hit points. Yes, the thingamy's something.
Order! Order!
There, you see? You see? Look at that! Look! 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 Yes. Again.
What is a man?
It's just like I said, isn't it, my darling?
Yes, sir. Patricia's always right. Sir!
Let us study the receipt for the books purchased by the accused on the day in question. Mrs. Beat, the titles once again, if you please. Oh, yes, of course. The picture of Monsieur somebody or other. The picture of Monsieur Lecoq. What's it yearnings?
Canterbury yearnings.
A meal for someone.
A meal for Gaborio.
Gaborio, in fact.
As the court has just heard, the witness remembers the book titles flawlessly, save for a few minor details. Mrs. Beat's powers of recollection can only be described as exceptional.
Did you hear that, Rolly? The gentleman paid me a compliment.
Sir, Flawless, sir, Patricia Flawless.
But there are only 3 books on the receipt, and Mrs. Beat mentioned 4.
There is nothing surprising about that. Clearly, the 4th book is that which is shown in this photographic print. I'm sorry, Counsel, but does that not seem odd? Why should the 4th book be omitted from the receipt? It's not odd at all. Excuse me.
Rogue Tower. Oh, I've definitely heard of Vampire Survivors. Tons of people are talking about it. I don't know that I'm really looking for, like... It's a very bite-sized game, right? Like, you play it and it's like, oh, you know, one run or whatever is, I don't know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever. You know, just like a candy type of game. Like, obviously, once you finish it, you just start again, probably. One run is 30 minutes, okay. It is so cheap that it's, you know, it's kind of like, why not just get it? Even if I only wind up playing it for 3 or 4 hours, that's still a good deal. But no, I've heard of it, but I haven't picked it up. And I don't think I've heard of the Rogue Tower. I might have heard of, but it's a very generic name. As the photograph clearly shows, the fourth book was found in the victim's clutches. In other words, it belongs to the victim. The victim was holding her own book? I wonder what became of that fourth book. Obviously, it wasn't overlooked by the investigating officers at Scotland Yard. I have it here as evidence.
You'll submit that and the aforementioned photographic print to the court, please, counsel.
My pleasure, my lord. The prosecution rests. I have nothing further to add. What? You seem surprised, my learned friend, but your resistance until now has been in vain. Entertaining, yes, but futile. The spurious longer route to the accused lodgings that you tried to establish in your summation examination, and the attempted discrediting of the witness's powers of recollection in your cross-examination. Futile. I walked right into this, didn't I? You see, everything we've said is true. Isn't that right, my darling?
Yeah, Pat, marry me, Pat.
So perhaps the ladies and gentlemen of the jury would like to reconsider their positions, should the court waste any more time on this Nipponese travesty? Or is the decision you have to make all too apparent already? Bang, bang, bang. You have heard all of the witnesses and seen all of the evidence. This trial has run its course. Mr. Naruhodo, I'm afraid we're in a terribly precarious position. I have nothing to... Yeah, usually the prosecution well, no. If the prosecution rests, they're still allowed to object. They can still object. Rest simply means they're not going to introduce any more pieces of evidence or any more witnesses. And even that, I think they can take back. I don't know. I'm making stuff up, as usual. Let's look at the court record. What are these new things? That's definitely either burned or bitten. And so is that. Oh, look at this! This book has been badly burnt. You're right. You'd never be able to read it in this state, especially not the latter pages. What a terrible waste. Judging from the scorched edges of that paper, I think the damage must have occurred very recently, she said. No frickin' reason. What are you, dumb? A book recently damaged by fire. The Island of Mist. Why does that seem to raise a red flag with me? Let me see. It's a book entitled The Lion's Pride. I wonder what the title was in Japanese. Because this has a double meaning. Pride and pride. I'm afraid I don't know any English literature at all, so it wouldn't be something I've heard. Wait a minute. The Lion's Pride? That's strange. I think I have heard a book by that name before, and very recently, too. It's a title I recognize, too, Mr. Naruhodo. I know, but if I fight back in the wrong way now, I could very well just make matters worse. Think, Ryunosuke, think. What do you do now? I mean, it's never wait and see.
Objection.
I'm not done yet. No, my learned friend, it's over. The last cross-examination was your final chance to establish a credible defense, and you failed. The die has been cast. There is no more room for debate. Well, it might be over as far as you're concerned, but arg, I can't think of what to say. If I may, Lord Van Zieks, it seems somewhat boorish to close down the debate at this point. Your insignificant little Eastern Isle must be a lawless hole indeed. For a lowly judicial assistant to have the audacity to intervene at a moment like this. Oh! I am, to my shame, still a very inexperienced lawyer. Also, probably ashamed of, I don't know, being from Japan. It seems like everybody hates that too. So you'll have to forgive me, but I consider my assistant's advice essential, and her opinions invaluable. Which means valuable. Because English. Mr. Naruhodo.
One of this land's great guiding principles is tolerance, so the court will hear you, madame.
Go ahead, Mr. Sato, please.
Very well. Pray, what insight can you give us? What have we all overlooked in this matter that you see fit to pursue further?
Well, the court has been presented with new evidence, but only after the last cross-examination finished.
I see. And you believe that this new evidence warrants further examination, do you?
Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think? It's just possible that this new evidence might be the decisive proof we've been waiting for. What are the odds of that? What are the odds that the evidence that just came in is the decisive evidence that's going to overturn everything that we know about the case so far? Frickin' how many times has that happened in the entirety of the series? Only 60, 70, maybe 80 times tops? Ridiculous. The judge is sure to ask the members of the jury to announce their leanings in a moment. And of course, he's sure to ask you to explain what the crucial piece of evidence is and why, so we must take this opportunity to examine the newly presented evidence as thoroughly as possible. Yes, I understand. And thank you, Miss Susato. This is it. Susato-san has managed to win us one last chance here. I think that was them hinting that I needed to go into the court record and examine the book in order to change the tooltip on this fourth book. But I'm not really... like, realistically, it makes absolutely no difference that this person was carrying a book that was burned. I can't let it go to waste. Didn't you already do this? The summation thing? Where the jury... We did do that already, but I don't think we're doing that again. We're just independent of that, saying, I'm going to present evidence that... Thrown out of a window? Was it? Oh. Somebody threw the book out the window and it hit her on the head and fell into her open grasp. The defense wishes to present evidence, my lord. She picked it up and then fell unconscious and then picked it up using her robot eye.
Very well. The defense may present one further piece of evidence. Evidence that apparently offers a profound insight into this case and has hitherto been overlooked.
So, I mean, it's not going to be the map. It's not going to be the receipt, right? knife. I opened it, right? Didn't I? Oh, there is this, I guess. So we know that the tip of the knife is missing. She's laying on her right side. Does that match this picture? It does. I guess it's got to be this. This is my profound insight. The evidence in question is what we can see from the newly presented photographic print of the crime scene, so I could have presented either one of them. The fourth book found in the victim's hand. We have already discussed the fourth book at length. Other than it being in the victim's grasp at the time of the incident, and the fact that 4 comes after 3, no significance has been attached to it. Pursuing the matter further would be a flagrant waste of the court's time, as you well know. Ag!
Yes, I'm afraid, counsel, I must concur with the prosecution on this matter. When I afforded you this opportunity, you led the court to believe that the evidence in question contained a hitherto undiscovered clue. So I must insist that you elaborate, counsel. You will identify this clue at once. Do I make myself clear?
Oh, yes, my lord. It's, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe the prosecution is trying to avoid a thorough examination of the evidence, which means you may very well be on the right track. Yes! Falcon correctness.
So, counsel, precisely where is this vital clue to this case which the fourth book conceals?
Right there.
Got it!
Got it! Yeah, when they do the thing where they show his eyes and they're like moving around sporadically, the shrunken pupils. I would ask the court to observe the back of the book in question.
The back? What do you... Good gracious! It's been burnt to a crisp.
So we have to ask ourselves. We have to? Do we? I don't actually see how this is relevant at all. We have to ask ourselves, why was the victim clutching what is clearly an unreadable book? It is undeniably an extremely unnatural thing for her to have been doing.
Objection!
Unnatural, you say? And what of it, my Nipponese friend?
Oh!
Were I to concede the point, if it bears no relation to the case, then there is nothing to discuss. So, should you wish to assert that this fire damage is some veiled clue as to what happened that day, pray, do enlighten us all. What truth does this charred book hide?
That's a good question. A charred book. There's just one possibility here, which I can't quite bring myself to rule out. It's an outside chance, certainly, but worth a try. What if there's aliens? Alright, I'll explain my theory.
Don't keep us waiting any longer then, counsel. Explain this theory of yours. What are you suggesting that you can ascertain from the fire damage the sorry tome has suffered?
Guess we're gonna say it's the owner. I've met one person in the entire city of London who had fire damage to their apartment. Therefore, must be theirs. Gotta be theirs. Gotta be their book. My lord, the burn on the back of this book reveals a startling truth about the book's owner.
I beg your pardon?
But we already know who the book belongs to. The victim was gripping it in her hand as she fell to the floor. After all, it's obviously hers. The question of how this book came to be in the victim's hand has yet to be answered. However, as to the questions of who the book really belongs to and where it originated, the defense is very credible answers. You see, there's this man. I saw some burn marks in his apartment. He is the inventor of fire. Fire exists there and has only ever existed there. Pay no attention to the fire currently burning to your left and right. That apartment is the only place that fire has ever existed.
Good gracious, how can you possibly?
Very well. I'll play along with this futile attempt to delay your inevitable demise. But do remember, the members of the jury may well burn you if your little gamble goes awry.
Counsel, the defense's response here is very likely to influence the final outcome of this trial. So tell the court, who do you claim is the owner of this burnt book?
This guy, John Garadab, for some reason.
Take that!
Also on the lamps on the street. You remember how there's an apparatus full of fire every 30 feet across the entirety of London? Well, I know who owned this book. The answer is that the book belongs to the couple who own the house where the defendant has his lodgings. Wow, that was a 720 point. A certain Mr. and Mrs. Garadab. The landlords. And whether this is some extraordinary coincidence or some kind of fate at work, I don't know. But of all the people in London, one of the 6 chosen for jury duty in this courtroom today is none other than Mrs. Garadab herself. Oh my goodness. Me? I think you must be mistaken, sir. I'm not Mr. Garadab's wife. I'm his maid. Things would be so much easier if you would just drop the pretense. Alright then, how about a simple question for you? Have you ever seen this book in Mr. Garadab's house? I would never presume to know all the books he keeps, sir.
Objection!
This is outlandish behavior. This woman is the accused landlady, you say. You implicate this hard-working member of the public. You besmirch her without a shred of evidence. Your actions are unforgivable.
Objection!
Yurusenai, as they say in your Nipponese country.
This is not merely about that. Actually, it is conjecture. It is merely conjecture. It's the very definition of if we got a dictionary and set it on fire and then looked up the word conjecture, the picture that was burning to a crisp would be of this scene right here. The defense happens to know that on the day in question, at almost exactly the same time as the victim was stabbed on the pavement below, another incident was taking place in the room on the top floor of Mr. and Mrs. Garadab's house.
Good Lord! What sort of incident, counsel?
A fire, my lord.
I'm afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course, and bally furniture started going up as well. The worst of it is I lost my favorite book called The Lion's Stride.
I don't remember him saying that.
The Lion's Pride.
By Jove!
Love that expression.
The very same title that's the subject of this debate.
Oh, dear me.
Objection!
This is riceable. I guess.
Is it? Riceable as in derision?
All you've told the court is that a book by the same name was involved in a fire in which case it would be reasonable to assume that it was burnt to ashes. And entirely unreasonable to infer that it magically removed itself to the scene of the crime.
Perhaps it would make more sense if I told you that the cause of the fire was marital discord. We've been over this. We don't need to paint it in such a light foot. It was abuse. It was assault. Without going into details, which would cause someone to be arrested, go to jail, it appears Mrs. Garrideb was considerably enraged. That sounds reasonable. That's okay, funny. Apparently, she continued to attack Mr. Garrideb even amid the flames. Oh, how awful! I can't even imagine being so horrid to the one you love. Can you, Rowley?
Absolutely not, sir. My Patricia would never raise a finger against me, sir.